First one is the best one. Make it count.
If you start the airplane wrong, you're going to bend things. This airplane is so big, I can't even touch the elevator, but everything's in Russian. So I'm here at Stellenbosch Airfield. We are in front of the Antonov An-2, and I'm with Alvane. Everything that has a wing and a propeller and maybe even a jet engine, you fly.
One could say I have a flying problem, yes.
There's three things you won't expect from this airplane. You need to drain the oil out of the cylinders before you start it. It has pneumatic brakes, and it even has its own compressor that you can use to pump up its wheels when you're out in the bush. So part of the pre-flight is to get on top.
So yeah, so what we need to do, we obviously need to go and check the oil tanks up there.
I'm going to let you do the climbing. And I'll help going. Okay. I couldn't get out of that one.
Left foot in here, there, on top, and right here.
This is quite a...
It's pretty cool once you're up here, I'll tell you that.
Scared of heights, believe it or not. Jeez, this is crazy. It feels so high.
Carefully climb over without falling off. Quite pretty cool because it's got a special dipstick here.
So the dipstick's built into there, like, that is so cool.
So you can see the liters. There's a 75, so that must be 65. So we're looking just over 60. You can actually see the fuel tanks here. And then at the last one at the top there is where the actual filler cap is. These are the slats, so you're not supposed to step on the slats, you're not supposed to step on the fuel tanks either, so there's a little walkway there. Obviously nobody ever steps on the tanks.
No way. Who thought lying on the wing was part of pre-flight?
Yeah, and getting dirty.
Yeah.
And you can see here is the slats, and they're attached to bungees, so if I let it go,
no way.
It'll just close. Alright Gareth, here on the Antanov, for those of you not familiar with the power plant, it's a 9-cylinder supercharged carbureted engine. It's a Swetsov ASZ, and it puts out about 1,000, some sources say 1,010 horsepower, and Ukrainian horsepower, of course, you know. And it actually works very well and very robust. It does like a little bit of fuel and some oil. We've got an oil tank up there that takes 120 liters of oil. It uses about 4 to 5 liters an hour, and we normally operate it between about 50 and 70 liters of oil in the tank, so half tank.
So the funny thing about that is my bush baby tanks are 100 liters, so you have more oil in here.
Potentially I could fill it up for a long trip, more oil than what you... And you know, you have to, normally you don't take into account oil when you do weight and balance on light aircraft, but in this instance you have to, because there's so much.
Fair enough.
There's 6 fuel tanks up there, 3 on each side. They're interconnected, so only one filler port. But nonetheless, so it's about 600 a side. Each of those fuel tanks are 200 each, so it puts you to 1,200 liters. This one, having come from the Polish Air Force, has been adapted for 1,300 liters. Don't ask me where they hide the other 100 liters, but it's maybe the tanks are just a touch bigger. So right now, what happens with these radial engines, all radial engines really, is once you've stopped, that oil that was still lubricating everything up there now has to go somewhere, and then gravity gets hold of it, and it sort of drains into the bottom cylinders. Now the problem is, over time, even though there's an oil ring and compression rings, the oil runs past those and end up in the cylinder itself. If you start up this engine and you get compression, oil doesn't compress where air does. Something will have to give, so you're going to bend something. So we want to ensure that it's only air and fuel that compresses there when those exhaust and intake valves are closed. So now we need to ensure that we drain that oil. So if we're lucky, we turn the propeller through and the exhaust valves open just enough for that bit of oil to drain out into the exhaust itself. And then I've got a bottle that's screwed into the exhaust system, which I then trap. So we're going to see if we can get that oil drained in there. It's got compression.
It looks like it, yeah. This is also probably the most mechanical airplane I've ever seen. Like, everything just, it's super thought out. Like, as soon as you think like, oh, okay, I've hit the one surprise, then it throws you sort of the next curve.
As far as the flight controls go, all this bottom part is flaps. The top wing, inboard is flaps, and the outboard flaperons. Of course, you can see how the aircraft actually stands like this, and especially landing on paved surfaces. It wears on the outside, just typically like your Cessna 185s and 80s wear. But when you want to rotate them, you don't actually have to take the tire off the rim because the rim is symmetrical. You literally just take them off, switch them around and put them back on.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Now here you can connect a pipe and then put it into a drum. And then there's a little switch inside there that you can activate, and it starts sucking the fuel from the drum to the top, so you could refuel in the field from a drum.
That's pretty cool.
The brakes, as you'll see when we're flying, these are not hydraulic hoses, these are actually pneumatic. So we've got air that we use for the brakes, and the reason for that is when they operate these aircraft in those extreme cold temperature countries, fluid will just get mushy and freeze and all kinds of stuff.
This is the brake lever, so essentially you need to pull this and then you need to steer with the rudders down there. So that's the rudder pedals down there.
So the nice thing, because we've got an air tank on board now with a compressor, that air can actually then use to pump out the tires as well. So there's even a fitting down here. If you have the hose, and you can just connect it to your tires and pump up your own tire. And here you can see the tail wheel shock absorber. You can see there's the shock absorber. And then there's another air line which uses a little solenoid that puts a pin into the tail wheel, which is not all N2s have it, but it locks the tail wheel just straight. So once you've lined up, there's no steering on it, it just locks it straight, which obviously helps for directional control. And of course there's another little hose connector here as well to pump up the tail wheel.
This mad. Yeah. Right, so we've just done with the pre-flight. It's time to go and see how this airplane flies.
Just crack the throttle like with any aeroplane. Okay, and now we've got, of course, the flywheel that we spool up. It doesn't have a direct start, and then a clutch that engages slowly to grab it, because otherwise you imagine the size of the starter that would be required.
You're going to need like 220 volts.
And a massive battery. So, the brakes on now. Okay, clear prop. So there you can hear it's starting to spool up. We can see on the amps actually, as it spools faster, it draws less amps from the battery. The battery's got enough power in it to start about 4 times. First one is the best one. Make it count. And you can actually hear like a bicycle flywheel or bicycle wheel when it sort of reaches its max RPM. Okay, yeah. Then lastly we need to make this a tri-motor.
Oh, that's so cool.
You'll see the outside bottom switch there, it says Venti.
Venti?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go,
yeah.
aircon.
And then every now and again you just got to test whether this thing still bites.
That's funny.
I don't know why, but everyone needs to stick their finger in there. I suppose that's why they made them of rubber.
Pretty much.
Because they know pilots are like boys.
Yeah.
Little boys. As you can see, your visibility is sort of a little bit limited. And you have a big tail that can swing, so you got to be very careful. You don't just turn. If we just turn here on the spot, we'll definitely hit that says no with our tail. So we got to go forward a little bit. That tail wheel's still standing skew, but I'll straighten that out. There we go. I think that's clearing now. How's it looking out there?
We're looking good.
When they built this aeroplane, I think one of the guys on the team said they discovered electricity, man. We should use it everywhere. So they put it everywhere. And they all use the same little motor, funny enough. So they're interchangeable. Stellenbosch traffic, here Alpha Lima and Antonov An-2. We're taking off runway 19 off, take off right and turn out, routing out to the north. So slowly, gently, because if you just whoop it, you'll just next thing you point over there. Okay, I want to go nice and straight. Start the timer. Here we go. Okay, we're only going to boost it up to 1,000. We don't have to go all the way. Okay. Quick forward. Tail comes up. A little crosswind from the right.
That is crazy.
And it flies.
Wow.
100 kilometers an hour there. You'll see the slats bouncing around a little bit if I just pull a bit more than they. This one on the left is out. Anyway, there we go.
Wow. It actually flies blacker. Like, I mean, sitting in it, it feels black.
Yeah, it's solid.
Yeah.
But the handling is...
Okay.
But it's a rugged machine, you know.
Okay.
That's what's fun, like a tractor.
Sure.
Unfortunately, when you do the first flight after it stood for a while, all that oil dripping inside or leaking out everywhere, it gets blown onto the window as well.
Stupid question, but you fly like big jets and stuff. How does that compare to flying something like this? Is this harder to fly, more stick and rudder?
This is definitely harder to fly.
Okay.
Because there's so much more managing going on here.
If you had to compare flying like a Kit Fox, which is, I know a Kit Fox, Bush Baby Explorer, they're all like kind of sporty, where this is probably a bit more sluggish.
You'll get a chance to fly just now, and you'll see what it's like. There's a bit of a mind shift you must make because of the momentum of this machine, as far as the tail dragger goes. I mean, it's a big tail dragger.
Yeah.
And there's no twitchiness to it.
Yeah.
You try and do that. Well, first of all, it's heavy on the controls. It's going to be hard to do it.
Sure.
And secondly, they're just going to sit there and laugh at you and say, what am I supposed to do with that little input?
Yeah, okay.
You barely made it, now you take it away. I can't move that fast, you know. Tail is heavy, everything is heavy, so it needs time. And then, of course, as it picks up momentum, then it starts going. So you do get the result after you've made an input. You just got to wait for it, and then it's definitely there.
Sure. So what are we cruising at now, like?
So we're doing about 180, 185 kilometers an hour, which of course is 100 knots.
Yeah, okay. That's
indicated.
That's decent. And you're burning about 200 liters an hour.
Yeah, we're burning about 200 an hour now, maybe a touch less.
Okay.
Because we're not only the two of us, we're not that heavy. So normally we would sit to get speeds like this with a full load, we would sit about over 700 millimeters of manifold. Now I'm sitting here just over 600.
Got it.
Weight makes it a big difference when it's a ton involved.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't move a ton of extra 1,000 kilograms around and not spend some energy towards it.
Yeah, 100%.
In this case, chemical energy.
Yeah. And stall speed, like there is no stall speed essentially, right?
I'll tell you what, there is a stall speed. However, the problem is that the elevator is not big enough to actually get it to that critical angle of attack. So you'll configure with flaps and you'll pull back on the control column and you'll have it all in your stomach, and it somehow just stops short of that critical angle of attack where the stall would happen. And of course then it just starts mushing. You go clean, you just pull it up high enough and then pull some more, like, and the nose drops and it stalls, definitely.
Okay.
And it buffets.
Okay.
But if you were straight and level, come back on the throttle, configure with flaps and just pull in your stomach, it just goes into a rate of descent, which is high but survivable.
Okay. But now let's chat about what it's like flying this airplane. You're pretty tired after that, I suppose. Well, not tired, but you know, it is quite a bit of a workout. I know when Alvin did let me fly the plane, my GoPro's already toast, but I've never ridden a Harley Davidson before or ridden on the back of one. They just sound super epic. And I think this comes... my feeling is like, if I had to explain it, I think that's what it would be, is like riding a motorcycle like a Harley Davidson or something, just on steroids, or like a monster truck or something. So when you're flying this airplane, you need to fly with both hands to actually maneuver the aircraft around. You know, the controls are super heavy. So I wouldn't say it's like the best flyer, if I had to say it like that in a roundabout way, but the thing is, like, it's just got this like, okay, cool, like I don't mind having a white shirt that's full of grease and sitting here with your arm like cruising like this. This plane lands in like 100 meters, which is super crazy. Like it's mind-blowing. It probably, performance-wise, is probably pretty close to what the Bush Baby is landing and takeoff distance. The problem is you might not get into like a tight strip. Well, when I mean tight, like narrow, because of how wide the aeroplane is. But other than that, like the stall performance is probably better in this aeroplane than on my little Bush Baby, or what you would see in a Kit Fox, for example.
Antanov traffic, Sierra Alpha Lima, final approach, runway 19, full stop.
Alvain let me fly all the way back from Adrian's place. We did some turns, we did some, you know, a couple of things like that. Yeah, like we literally flew it all the way down to the final approach, and Alvain was like, do you want to land it? I was like, I think you're gonna land it. Turbulence didn't really bother this airplane, whereas my airplane I probably just would have turned around and gone home and landed. I didn't feel the need for that with this airplane, or get airsick or anything like that, because I get airsick super quickly if I'm not flying the airplane. Right, back at Staley's. That was super awesome. So Alvain actually let me fly, but it feels like I need to have a white shirt with a lot of grease on.
You see now where I wear the overall.
Yeah.
And if I don't wear the overall, I've got my Antanov pants on.
Yes. So like I was saying to Alvain, like when we landed, this was probably the most epic flight or epic experience I have had in my whole aviation experience. And it's just like, you can't put a word on it. Like normally I'm alright with analogies to find words, but I can't. So this is what it looks like on the inside. It's pretty spacious. The view is actually pretty nice in here. So you could essentially pack your whole family plus camping gear and go camping, which is like, it's mind-blowing. There's the mirror. So as you walk in, you can actually check like if you're actually all clean and ready to go flying, I guess, all full of grease from pre-flight. Okay, bush plane with a toilet. There you go. Promise you, there's a toilet in here. It's pretty epic, and then there's a closet for your clothes, if you can see that. I have a feeling I'm going to dream about this airplane for years and years to come, because this is just so cool. So I think, like, thank you very much. It was super cool to experience that. It's probably been one of the most insane experiences I've ever had flying, or sort of aviation wise.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and believe it or not, I also enjoyed it. I still enjoy flying every day. Thoroughly enjoy it, and maybe guys like us are just lucky that we get to enjoy it.
For sure.
So much, because other people say, aren't you tired of flying? I'm like, no. We'll fly some more airplanes in the next program. For the viewers at home,
cool.
Stay tuned.
So if you want part 2 where we maybe take this airplane camping and bush flying, comment down below and maybe we can get Alvain to take us on that mission. So drop that comment down below and hopefully we'll take it camping.